Right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Freyer. This is a public hearing of the Finance and Claims Committee on the 26-27 budget. So I'll call the meeting to order. The first thing is the first order of business will be the roll call. I have with me from the Finance Committee, Johan Lopez, Richard Dellinger, Brian Bailey. And I think that's a quorum.
There's, I think Ian's also.
Yes.
Ian's oh, yes, she's not.
Okay, and that's a quorum. We expect a few more. So before we open it up for comments, I'm going to ask Mr. Jared Schmidt to give us a brief overview on the budget that we've got, the tentative budget that's in place right now. Mind you that there will be some changes made to this as we go forward.
Speak up, sorry.
Okay, Jim, I'm doing that too, I can't hear you.
Okay, is that a little bit better?
Lean in a little, sorry.
We're old back here, I can't hear you.
Well, I'm old too, so.
It's your line.
Okay, so we'll start with Jared. Will give us a brief introduction and to the budget, and then we'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Frere. Are you sticking to that half hour?
Yeah, we're gonna stick to we'll have a half hour. We'll have 3 minutes for individual comments when Mr. Schmidt's finished. So it's going to be a little bit of an abbreviated.
So it'll be very, very brief. Okay.
Trying to be as brief as possible. I
Yes.
think many people have already seen this budget. It's been published a couple of times. We've already had a couple of hearings on it. So we'll just try to give you the highlights and then open it up for comment.
Okay, Simon, can you pull up that PowerPoint presentation, please?
And
On it.
Let's go to, skip down to the
Jesse Buckler and
fourth page, please, fourth slide.
Can maybe Chinese maybe pick up.
just before you get started, Simon, we have Jesse Bucklow out there. Who else do we have?
I think Nicole Edie as
And Nicole
well.
Edie, and move them over to panelists.
On it. Sorry.
And also, if you see Broderick Sawyer, he should be coming on as well. He told me earlier. He may need to be switched on. Okay,
I'm here having dinner.
okay. Broderick Sawyer is here too.
Could you repeat the names for me again?
It's Broderick Sawyer, Jesse Bucklow, who's the other one?
Nicole Edie.
And Nicole Edie.
Thank you, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Is Broderick Sawyer a panelist?
Broderick
Yes.
Sawyer should be pulled over.
Perfect. Is that everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you to the committee for allowing me a couple minutes, and I will be just a couple of minutes. I'm skipping ahead on the slide. This first slide has the revenue by source for the city, and it's pretty typical in the sense that we rely heavily on our tax revenue, on our property tax revenue. There are a couple of places where we had some changes in particular investment income, which is down just due to interest rates going down. And then we are also decreasing the reliance on fund balance by $1 million. So not a whole lot to see there. Let's go to the next page. Please. All right. So next page is the spending side of the budget, and the proposal is for a 7.04% increase overall. The increase on the city side is 10.72%, and then the increase to the Board of Education is 4% proposed. I'll note that the Board of Education increase includes a $4.5 million in the FY26 base budget. And so the actual amount is larger if you were to take that out of the base by that amount, by $4.5 million. I'll note the employee benefits increasing very dramatically. That is due to, in large part, due to healthcare, and also due to reliance on our internal service fund in the past, and having to catch up and make up some payments, not payments, but some appropriations within the budget. And we also included in order to mitigate the budget, we've included this time a salary lapse of $3 million, because we've seen in the past that we pretty consistently end up being under budget in salaries. And so we took a look at that and came up with a reasonable number that we could actually budget in order to hold taxes down as best as possible. And that's my very brief overview. I wanted to make sure we have a short period of time for the public hearing, so I want to make sure everybody has enough time.
Okay, we can now open it up for public comment. If you would like to talk, people here in the room would like to talk, please sign up down in the front here. Tom will take your name. And we also will probably have some people online. We will limit that to 3 minutes. You'll be notified when we're down to about 2.5 minutes so you can gauge how much time you have left, okay? So what we'll do is take a look and see if there are some people online. If you raise your hand, Simon will recognize you, and then he can move you over and you can speak. So at this time, I'll ask Simon, do we have anybody online that would like to speak?
Yes, we have 2 people at this time.
Okay, so why don't we start with them, and then we can move on to the people in the house.
Great. iPhone guest, you're up first.
And what I'll ask people that want to speak, could you please give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi there, my name is Chris. I live on Bumblebee Lane in Norwalk, a lifelong resident. How's everybody?
Great.
Pretty much it was, just want to go over the shocking news I heard the other night. Pretty quickly, they first brought up how we, I guess, reimburse people, or excuse me, we pay for people that are put out because of fire or code violations. But when when the question was asked if we got reimbursed, they were unclear of how much we got reimbursed or how we basically the answer was we tried. So, that's very glaring. Like, we should have a definite answer of how much we spend and how much we're getting reimbursed and how we're going about getting that. So then to hear that, and then the second comment, or later on, I'm hearing, well, we're raising people's salaries to retain these people. If we don't have a clear understanding and follow up on finances, then I'm not sure why we're paying more money to retain people. So I think we need to look into that and get definite answers of how much we're paying out and when we're getting reimbursed and how we go about getting reimbursed. The second thing, when you're saying about raising taxes, she mentioned, I think the mayor mentioned pensions that for fire and police, that the junior or new hires are at a different pension level. And I think that was probably enacted, I don't know the history of it, but a few years ago to actually save the city money down the line. Now, if we're going to raise those pensions to equal other people's pensions just because of morale, that's a huge financial impact, not just now, but for the next 50 years. So I think that needs to be revisited and say, let's hold up, let's think about this, let's see about the numbers, because those people that are getting the higher pensions now, they're going to be gone in 10 years. So then everybody will be on the same playing level. Let's not burden the city for the next 5 to 10 decades because of low morale. And I guess the other thing is, I hear we're adding red lights, where we're supposed to be for safety, but the comment was, well, we're doing it for revenue. So, I mean, I guess most of the towns are doing that, but it is what it is. The other thing is the zoning laws. We need to enforce those. We need to enforce the fines. I don't know if anybody in this common council has been on any of those calls, but it's ridiculous how people are just have 4 and 5 bed apartments, 4 and 5
30 seconds remaining.
4 and 5 family apartments, but when they get caught, they're like, "Oops, I'm sorry," and they're not fined. There's no deterrent. There's no fine. I mean, if you have a fine there, that's strictly put in place and not, well, if they fix it, no fine. There's no deterrent for these people that do it for 5 or 10 years, and that's taking money away from the taxpayers of Norwalk. Finally, the Common Council in January said they would fund the parks and recs. They said, we got to understand, we got to fund this. And in this new budget, there's no additional, there's $80,000 additional or $90,000 additional funding for parks and recs. I mean, the taxpayers paid for these fields.
3 minutes.
I'm sorry, but let's, fund parks and recs for everyone in Norwalk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next person online.
Mandy S., you are up next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Mandy Singh. I live at 73 North Sewer Hill Road in Norwalk. I've lived here 17 years. I have 3 kids in the public school system, an elementary schooler, a middle schooler, and a high schooler. So I have a good perspective on that. And I also happen to be the PTO president at Cranberry Elementary School. I really just came tonight to urge the committee to fully fund the budget, the Board of Ed's budget that they've requested. I understand that you're not planning on funding it. Fully funding it. I appreciate that you're going to give, I believe, like a 4% increase, and Board of Ed asked for a 6.5% increase. I don't understand all those things, but I know that in May, when we start finding out what is exactly going to have to be cut, you're going to have a lot of angry parents. And because I know that happened last year, and a lot of the, our legislators seem to have this attitude of like, where were you before? Where were you before? Well, I'm here now. And I think that I represent a much larger group of parents who are just not as comfortable speaking, public speaking. But I know that Cranberry PTO, just for example, our entire board agreed to move our meeting. We were supposed to have a PTO meeting tonight at 7 p.m. and our board agreed to move the meeting up to 6, and we rushed through it just so that parents could attend this because that's how strongly they feel about it. So I would just urge you to keep that in mind, that the parents are out there. We do care. We're proud of what's Norwalk Public Schools have achieved. I'm so proud of the improvements I've seen over the years since I lived here. Frankly, when I first moved here, I didn't have kids yet, but I was a little nervous about sending my kids to public school in Norwalk. But now, it's just been so great for them. And my oldest is in the marching band. They won nationals this year. He was one of the first grades that the school district was able to provide band lessons as early as 4th grade for him. I don't think it's a coincidence that's
30 seconds remaining.
This is the first year since COVID that they were able to, come in first place again. And it's such, a source of pride. Like, our arts program is such a source of pride for Norwalk parents, and it lures parents here and it lures families to stay. And I just hope you keep that in mind, that what may seem like an insignificant 2.5% that you're not funding to you may be the difference between, elementary school band or other funding for arts that's so important to our system, to our school district. Thanks so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Andrew. Why don't we move now to people in the audience?
Lisa Britton?
My notes, so I stay on time. Lisa Britton, 19 Shorefront Park. Budget season is upon us, and we're going to spend the next 4 months in countless meetings and emotional public hearings discussing the city and the Board of Ed expenses and arguing over what to cut and what to save. In my 20+ years, it's never changed. I don't understand why we can't forecast 3 years out and share that information with taxpayers. Personally, I forecasted where we were headed back in 2020. That's why I downsized my house in Rowayton. I want to thank you, Jim and Brian, for continuing to pay those taxes. But, the trend lines are there in the city in terms of our expenses and our revenues and the rate of inflation. So I don't know why we have this crisis every single year. But but you know what's missing from our conversation every year? A thorough discussion about revenue. Specifically, a complete understanding of the city's grand list and if we're planning, assessing, and taxing commercial property with the same gusto and accuracy we do residential, or whether the field cards on multifamily homes, their number of units, and their market values are correct. Zillow would suggest they're not. It's a valid question given the grand list represents nearly 90% of our revenue stream, and unlike other states, Hartford takes 100% of our income taxes and our sales taxes and returns less than 10 cents on the dollar to our city. Who on the finance committee knows the status of the top 50 largest commercial properties, their values, and their tax status in town? After more than a decade of nonstop construction, 19,000 homeowners still pick up the majority tab for a city approaching 100,000 people. What's the status of Wall Street Place, The Pinnacle, Scribe, Berkeley, Piper, Quincy Lofts, Sono Harborside, Ironworks, Sono Central, The Pearl, The Mall, Sono One, Platform Sono? What about Soundview Landing and the new Meadows Garden? Don't forget the pending Webster lot redevelopment and the recently approved Water Street mixed-use hotel. As a tax-paying homeowner, I deserve to know what I've subsidized, continue to subsidize, and still come up short on the budget. Does every town dole out abatements like Norwalk? Do we know? Is our assessment process for commercial as robust as residential? In speaking with industry experts, I've heard a couple things like the company Norwalk employs uses data collectors instead of certified property appraisers, or that commercial property owners often elect to pay penalty
30
fees
seconds remaining.
to avoid declaring income or assets, or that the assessors may lowball evaluation to avoid lawsuits from well-funded legal teams, something the average homeowner can't do. Finally, in the same breath, the council decries our budget woes. It continues to push for more affordable housing with tax abatements that will only bring in more people and place even greater strain on our budget and schools without the right revenue. And so I would like us to, as a city, to start focusing on revenue instead of beating ourselves up after 20 years of not being able to fund the city. Something doesn't add up. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Nick Zerzan?
Hi guys, Nick Zerzan, 1 Jean Avenue. Apologies to anyone that heard me the other night. I'll echo what that other woman said. I have 3 children in the Norwalk Public Schools, elementary, middle school, and high school. And someone much wiser than me said, you have one cause or no cause, and I'll stick to mine. And this is fully funding the school budget. I don't know if any of you guys were around, but last year the process evolved. A bunch of the Board of Ed members who were here were subjected to coming in this room and facing an angry mob of Norwalk citizens that were furious about eliminating the music program. And these guys were fighting for all the programs, all the student-facing teachers from day one, and as well as the mayor and the superintendent of schools had to go up on a stage downstairs and face incredible hostility, misguided comments. So I wanted to be on record that I know that the Board of Ed is in favor of fully funding the school budget. This $6 million, we're not going to cancel a pencil order or some paper, right? To get to $6 million, you're going to have to get rid of some people. So I don't know who you guys suspect or propose that we get rid of, maybe Lunda from the central office. It would be poorly bad cut, you know. Luna will get a job in the private sector for much more money, or someone else will snatch him up in a minute. Good luck replacing him for that kind of money. Do we get rid of the nurses at the schools? I was speaking to a parent the other night whose child has a lot of issues health-wise and stuff, and you know, their daughter was recently diagnosed with leukemia and will have to be out of school. They found out at Christmas time when all that flu stuff was going around, and you get rid of that nurse, or you know, have her part-time and switch between two schools. Did we forget about COVID not that long ago? Do we get rid of some of these ELL instructors? We want all these students, these new students, a huge demographic, learn English. Más rápido. Or do we, these SPED students, right? Do we ask them to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and, you know, come on, you can do it with less? I've talked to SPED teachers. They're spread so thin that we're almost out of compliance. So I appreciate that, and I disagree with the gentleman about, I'm in favor of the fireman's pension. I don't begrudge people for, you know, making a living and being able to retire and not eat cat food. I meant to bring a prop of my tax bill and I got it in the mail, and, you know, I'm not
30 seconds
a big
remaining.
earner, but I pay almost close to $1,000 in tax. My mother, who's on a fixed income, paying close to $20,000, and she's, you know, may or may not be taxed out of her home. So these are not insignificant things to me as far as the overall budget, but the school is very important. And I don't think we should, you know, be cutting senior members of the teaching staff that are basically experts to save money. And that was proposed the other night. My students had Mrs. Melizia, who taught all three of them how to read. She's like the OG of kindergarten.
3 minutes.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Nick.
Here, stay here.
Yeah, stay here.
Emily Carr. Two more after this.
Okay,
Hi, my name is Emily. I live at 156 Woodward Avenue in Norwalk. I'm in 5th grade at Concord Magnet School. I was here last year and I already spoke up about the music teachers and possibly losing them. And I'm here to tell you again how important the Norwalk Elementary music program is. At my amazing school, I play the viola and strings and the clarinet and band. I was also in chorus in the fall, and I'm now in drama club, led by our amazing music teacher, Miss Carson. Being part of any of these music programs has made me more confident and more expressive. I'm here to tell you, do not cut the elementary music program again. Last year when I heard that one of my favorite music teachers, Miss Carson, might not be at my school anymore because you cut her music teaching job, I was terrified and devastated. Like I said last time, without the elementary school band and strings program, the middle and high schoolers who play an instrument wouldn't sound the same as they do right now if they didn't start their instruments in elementary school. You will see a lot of me if that's what I have to do to save my awesome music teachers' jobs. If you do need to cut anything, please do not cut any of these amazing music and art teachers who brighten my day every single day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Emily.
Sarah Rabidi.
Mr. Chairman, it is 6:55.
Okay, let's keep on going on this. Do we have many people that are online?
We have 2 people online.
Okay, why don't we just keep on going and we can run into 7 o'clock if everybody's
Yeah,
okay
that's
with that. Go ahead.
Ready? Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Rabito. I live on Newtown Avenue in Norwalk, and I'm one of the co-presidents of the Concord Magnet School PTA. I'm here tonight as a parent and a volunteer and as someone who works closely with families across our district every single day. I want to start by saying that I understand the responsibility you carry. Evaluating an entire city budget is not simple. You're tasked with balancing competing priorities and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars, and I very much respect that. But I'm here tonight to say clearly and respectfully, our schools must be a top priority, and the Board of Ed budget gap needs to be closed. Last year's budget crisis was destabilizing. It consumed families, teachers, and administrators for months. Parents were attending meeting after meeting, trying to understand what programs would be cut, what staff might be lost, and how it would impact their children. Teachers were left wondering about their positions. Administrators were planning under shifting financial assumptions, and that kind of instability should not become our norm. When there is uncertainty year after year, we lose more than time. We lose talented educators to neighboring districts that can offer stability. We lose morale, we lose trust, and ultimately our students lose. Inside our school buildings, there's very little left to trim without direct impact on our children. Classroom staffing matters. Special education staffing matters. Mandated services must be delivered fully and appropriately. If IEPs cannot be properly implemented due to staffing shortages, the district not only fails its students, but opens itself up to costly legal consequences. That is not fiscally responsible, and that is preventable. Our schools are not just another department, they are the foundation of the city's future. Today's students are tomorrow's workforce, homeowners, small business owners, and civic leaders. Strong schools support property values. They attract families, they strengthen the economic vitality of Norwalk. This is not about asking for more. This is about maintaining what currently exists. It's about protecting the staffing and programs that are already serving our children. It is about stability. Working families cannot endure another prolonged budget battle. Parents should not have to mobilize year after year to preserve core educational services. Our children deserve consistency. Our teachers deserve confidence in their roles, and our community deserves steady leadership. I urge you to close the BOE budget gap and provide the stability our schools need. Investing in our schools is investing in Norwalk's future. That future is sitting in our classrooms right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, Tony Bacigalupo, resident at 515 West Avenue, District A. It's my first time addressing Common Council, so I just want to say congratulations on the new term. Thank you for your service and Godspeed. I'm appearing to advocate for fully funding the Business Development and Tourism Office. This is the group that produces the Sono Saturday markets, the Halloween night market, among a bunch of other things. And the budget for them has gone down and not up in the current proposal, which I think is the wrong direction. And the rationale for making the budget go up instead of down is really just 3 letters, ROI. The folks who are running this department and the work that they do for the city provides a massive amount of value for the city in terms of public morale, civic participation, good publicity and imagery for the city, but more than anything, benefit to our city's small businesses. When these businesses get to table at these events, our citizens get to learn about the businesses that are here and get to give them money and support them. And those are businesses that pay taxes here. They're run by people who pay taxes here. And I think it's a no-brainer in terms of just the absolute minuscule amount of money that we're talking about relative to the entire budget to fully fund this thing. So I think it would be to all of our benefit to give them the budget that they really need to keep the staff that they have that's been really punching way above their weight to help support this city. It's going to end up generating a lot more revenue for us and make all of our jobs easier when we're having this conversation next year. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Anybody who's joining for the Finance and Claims Committee meeting, we will start that shortly when we finish up with the hearing. A couple more people want to make their comments known about the current budget. So just hang in there. We'll start that in probably a couple of minutes. So is anybody else online that wants to speak?
Yes, we have 2 people. Anna T, you're up next.
Hi, I don't know how much time I'll have. Anna Tabashnik for Gilbert Street. I wanted to say that I agree very strongly with your first, second, and fourth speakers tonight. I was very disappointed in watching the conversation about relocation costs and reimbursement. I wouldn't expect people to have numbers at the tip of their fingers, but what I would hope to hear is that we get reports on this quarterly. We'll share with you the latest numbers. even better, I'd like to see a public website where we can see the relocation costs for the year, the amount reimbursed, the amount going to liens, and the properties that are outstanding. By the same token, I'd like to see improvements in enforcement. One second, of zoning fines. I'm running downstairs. I want to see a website that shows all the abatements presently in place so that we can stop the misinformation going around about abatements. There's no reason this can't be public, and we can all know exactly what's paid or not paid to whom and why. And most importantly, I want to see the Board of Ed fully funded. 4% is not enough. I need to finish watching the meetings this week to better understand why the city needs to go up to 10% and why the benefits weren't funded correctly a few years ago. But our kids aren't going to wait for that. So please fully fund the Board of Ed. I think that was everything I wanted to say. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more person, Francisca F.
Hi there. I was born in Norwalk, returned after many years. I've got 2 children in the Norwalk public school system, and I'm here to advocate for fully funding the budget for the Board of Ed. And I just wanted to share, I know last year there was discussion about, the nursing, part-time nursing staff, and, of course, the arts teachers being removed. This year, my daughter suffered a brain hemorrhage, and this occurred while she was actually at school. Our amazing nurse at CMS, Stephanie Moranci, is the reason our daughter is likely alive today, because she was there and our daughter could go to her, and she called for an ambulance before she even called us. So, now, fortunately, she's had an amazing recovery and she's back at school. She was out of school for almost 4 months. She came back and now she is in special education classes. She's with her group at CMS. But the reduction of resources for special education, which we already know is strained, is, my child, and many other children need these resources. Without these resources, we're going to be going somewhere else. We're going to move out of the city. We have to get these resources somewhere, somehow, right, for our children. So I just wanted to share that, put a face to these dollars, and please fully fund the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we certainly hope the best, and our prayers are with your daughter. Do we have anybody else online that would like to speak?
There was no one at this time.
Is there anybody else here in the building would like to speak? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this hearing? Mr. Dellinger is moved to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? And thank you all for coming and out on such a cold, miserable night. Thank you very much for your comments. You don't all have to run out, by the way. We have a committee meeting that's going to talk about a couple of items, and then we're also going to talk, just mention something about the budget, how we're going to proceed from here. So you don't have to run out the door if you don't. If you feel like staying, you're welcome.
And then there's a dance number.
Dance number.
Mr. Oliver?
I need a beat too.
This is the regular. Okay. Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Finance and Claims Committee for February 12th. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is now 7:09, and we're calling the meeting to order. First item is a roll call. I have with me Brian Bailey, Richard Dollinger, Joanne Lopez, and online we have Nicole Eady and Broderick Sawyer, I believe, is still on. Broderick, you still there?
Yeah, he's
Still here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. The first order of business.
You have
is
DeJuan Wiggins too.
And DeJuan Wiggins, how could I forget? First order of business is public participation, which we just went through a whole public hearing, but I'll ask that if there is anybody that wants to comment on any of the items on the agenda for this evening's meeting, that you have 3 minutes. Is there anybody here in the building that would like to talk on that? Do we have anybody online?
There's no one at this time.
Okay, so we will close the public participation. Next item is we have the acceptance of the meeting. We have two sets of minutes. First one is January 8th, special the joint finance and claims and Board of Education Finance Committees. Is there anybody have any comments or corrections to the minutes? No. Seeing none, I'll ask for approval of the minutes as submitted. All those in favor? That looks unanimous. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And
I'm going to abstain.
okay, and 2 abstentions. Okay. Next, we have another special meeting on January 15th, special finance and claims meeting. All those that, does anyone have any comments on or corrections for those minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for approval of the minutes. All those in favor? That looks unanimous. Okay.
I'm going to abstain.
Another abstention. All those in favor was 6 and 1 abstention. Okay. Next is we have the narrative. We have attached to the agenda the narrative on the tax collections and the monthly tax collectors report. The tax collector is not going to be with us this evening, so we're going to those are available. I'd like to just put them into the minutes as submitted. Anybody want to move? I'll move that. And does anybody want to second that? Mr. Bailey accept, moves it, and all those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Claims report. We have a claims report that was submitted by along with the agenda. I should have read this with the other one. Can I have a motion to accept the claims report as submitted? Mr. Lopez moves that. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. We have an assessor's report, tax assessor's report, which I'd like to hold off until we do the new business. We'll get that out of the way, and then we'll come back and get the assessor's report. Okay. So under new business, I'll read the resolution to approve a special appropriation totaling $140,000 for the Norwalk Recovery Program account. So noted. Norwalk Recovery Program includes the hiring of a recovery coach position with the Norwalk Police Department and grants to substance use organizations serving Norwalk residents. Do we have a motion for that? Mr. Lopez. And I believe we have Mr. Daniels with us this evening that can talk to this item.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Fantastic. So good evening, Chair Frere and members of the Finance and Claims. So in my current role, Chief of Staff, but I'm speaking in my former role as the Chief of Community Services. So just trying to pick up some things and keep things moving. So I do have some prepared remarks through you, Chair, that I would just like to speak to. You do have the materials in front of you just to underscore a few key points. First, these are opioid settlement funds. They are restricted by federal and state law in terms of how they could be used. As you know, there was a class action lawsuit in the country, and municipalities across the country receive funds. So this is the portion that through the state that the city of Norwalk received. And the law restricts how they can be used. They are specifically designed for prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery related to opioid and substance use disorder. So there is not flexibility to redirect these dollars for general purpose. So the community services through our Human Services Division has been charged to administer these funds. We have created a formal RFP process to ensure transparency, accountability, in alignment with the settlement requirements. The document you received is was our report that was also approved by the state and approved under former Mayor Harry Rilling. We are now prepared to draw down with your approval of this funds. Excuse me, as the report says. And as mentioned, one component, I'm particularly excited about is the partnership with the Norwalk Police Department around the recovery coach model. The intent here is to recognize that when police encounter someone in crisis related to substance abuse, the need is not only for that individual, but often for their families as well. The recovery coach serves as a bridge, providing what we call a soft handoff to services, supports, and treatment. And there were also proposed, that was approved again through the mayor's office and ultimately by the state, that we had to submit $10,000 to mini grants. And these specifically are targeted to the organizations who provide opioid related services to our constituents. So it's really specifically geared to that. So we're really excited. We're a little bit behind because the state has definitely urged municipalities once they receive this money to get it out into the community. So it's just another enhancement to serve our constituents based on our requirements. So I'll definitely, again, you have the information in front of you, but I'll certainly entertain any questions if you so have. So thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Does anybody have any questions, any comments they want to make? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That looks unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Daniels.
Have a great evening.
Take it easy. Thanks. Number 7B, resolution to transfer unexpended funds to a new project. Be it resolved that the special capital appropriations of $275,000 is hereby transferred from the combined dispatch capital project for the communications upgrade account so noted to the city's Office of Building Management Department on behalf of the Historical Commission for the conservatory project account as so noted, referenced below. Be it further resolved that the special capital appropriation of $275,000 is hereby transferred to the city's Office of Building Management Department on behalf of the Historical Commission for the research, design, and engineering work associated with the conservatory at the Lockwood Matthews Mansion. Funds will be appropriated to the new account as so noted, established upon final approval from the City Council. Do I have a motion on this? Mr. Lopez moves the item. I think we have with us this evening, Mr. Hempstead. Would you like to say something about this? Doug?
Well, so David.
David was.
Yeah, the Doug's here.
Okay. All right, so while Mr. Hempstead makes his way to the podium, why don't we hear from David Westmoreland as well?
Yeah, Lisa was just distracting Doug, for the record. Yeah, for the record.
He's on the way. Oh,
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Westmoreland. I'm a member of the city's Historical Commission. We discovered a few months ago that the conservatory, which is the kind of rounded glass structure, there's pictures in your packet, has three main support beams, vertical support beams, and it turns out they've rotted from the inside out, from underneath the plastic glass panes. And there's also a lateral structure that also has a significant amount of rot. We weren't able to see it until it actually started leaking, and upon further inspection, we saw the extent of the damage. The conservatory, we have put up support beams to keep it from collapsing, and particularly when there's snow load and things like that on it. It's a pretty serious situation, critical to the building. So we have met with our architects and engineers, and we came up with a rough budget of somewhere between $1.5 and $1.75 million to basically replace what's there. We are asking tonight for a special appropriation of $275,000 to be able to start the research, engineering, and architectural design, as well as figure out what the actual cost will be in advance of the July 1st, 2026-27 capital budget, where we have submitted the $1.75 million request. The $275,000, if approved, will reduce that request accordingly, if that's approved. But we would like to get started in order to speed this work, so we hopefully don't have to go through another winter worrying about whether this is going to collapse or not. And I'm happy to take questions, and I'm sure Doug has probably something to add as well.
Thank you. I know after the city's generosity with all the renovation, we were like, well, what are they back here for? It's something that we didn't uncover till we got back in and really found out how bad it is. There are presently 2 beams. We're nervous, all right, because it could collapse, and there are sprinklers out there now that the state requires to put a sprinkler system in the building. So we've had to pour a lot of extra heat out there in the last few weeks for sure. And having gone through the process enough from your end and the end with them, that getting this in advance certainly help us get our arms around what we think our costs are for moving forward. That the estimates are somewhat legitimate. They're in the legit range, but we get more specific because David, correct me, I always go to David first. Originally it was leaded, and now they made it out of wood, and that's why the rot. When they did the replacement, I guess for lack of went for a cheaper version, because that's plastic out there, not glass that they replaced with. We have most of the glass. The tree fell through it. That's what happened when they originally replaced it in the storm.
They had budget constraints.
That was in the early 1970s.
Could have been. I wasn't around for that, and and that's why we're trying to also try and restore things the way they kind of were. We have somewhat a lot of the glass left. All right, they went this route at the time. I don't know if they thought it was going to be temporary. They eventually come back and do it the right way. We don't have that kind of records. I know it's a tough decision, having sat in your seat for a long time. I would figure I was going to be here for a few hours tonight when I saw public hearing before this stuff. All that, and I thank you to the finance department for sitting down and having these pre-discussions. Hopefully you can support it. Yes.
Mr. Adams, I know that the museum does a lot of fundraising, so I'd assume there's a fundraising account somewhere for that. Is that
well
ever considered for any of these kind of emergencies?
Let's put it this way: fundraising we did the statue of the children of Lockwood, and it took us 6 years to get about $50,000 just to restore it. The challenge for nonprofits, especially with house museums nowadays, is, and I'm not saying this irrespectfully, but the warm fuzzy stuff gets the money. And what I mean by that is helping children and all those kind of other poverty, all those, and it's harder and harder for institutions. So yes, we do fundraising, but most of it goes through our operating budget.
And
We do, but it takes us years to get there.
And we've raised significant funds. The library was restored probably 10 years ago. I think it was over $400,000. That was all raised privately. There's been lots of other things like that. It's a lot easier to raise money for the decorative finishes and things like that. People don't really want to pay for plumbing or windows or, parts of the building that are falling in. They want their name on. We raised $150,000. Half of it was a grant, but the other half was privately raised just to restore the two front doors this past year. And again, that's something somebody saw and wanted to put their name on and see, but it's a lot different than just the structure of the building. So
And that was a matching grant.
Yeah.
The doors he's talking about, we had a trustee that put up 75,000 of their money. Their daughter, he lost his daughter, and I guess there was insurance on it. And what he did, since he's been on the board a while, was to donate the money, but it was a matching grant from the state. State put up the other half. So, and a lot of that's, as you know, too, state funding, that a lot of that's drying up too. We hope you can support this. Any other questions?
Would you like me to just talk about the source of money real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to mention, this is not a new ask in terms of bonded money. The city doesn't have to go out to the market to get approvals for this. This is coming from excess funds from a pre-existed project many years ago, the combined dispatch upgrade. We're very fortunate that we had an underrun on that project. There are some excess funds, so it's simply a transfer from the underrun on that project over to this project here. So it's not a new ask in terms of city bond.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Comments?
Thank you.
I know the question. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Have a great evening.
Okay, that's all the items that we have on the agenda right now. So I'd like to circle back to the tax assessment report. Did I see, is Paul going to be, is he here?
He's on.
Is he?
He's working from home.
Do we have to promote him?
Nope, I'm here.
No, he's got a,
Oh, he's on the phone. Oh, yeah, he's there.
No, I'm on a computer. Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Good evening,
Yes.
Paul. Thanks very much for coming tonight. And I was hoping, apropos of the budget that we talked about earlier, I think one of the things that we wanted to really get a good handle on was, how we doing on the revenue side, and most in particular, what we're doing with the grand list, and also what other efforts, other success stories do you have to tell us about through the years that have helped, or through the past year that has helped us to offset some of these increased taxes. So I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay. So as far as revenue, I don't really, that's a Lisa thing, but she's usually running at about 98%. So I'm going to assume it's about that. But as far as success stories from the assessor side of things, since we last spoke, two really big things have happened. One, we had our new person start in our office. Her name is Katharina Gray, and she is the replacement employee for a long-term employee, Patricia Wooten, who had been in the assessor's office for nearly 20 years and worked for the city for 30. So we're back to being full staffed after being down a person for a couple of months. And then the really big thing that we were able to pull off for the first time in my tenure is the signing of the grand list on time. So I was able to sign the grand list on January 30th of this year, and everything that follows through after that can run on time for the purposes of doing the budgets, the mill rates and things like that. Another thing that's been going on yearly to talk about things that we've had that I think are accomplishments is we've been poring over all the information that has been, sorry for the dogs in the background, but I am at home. We've been diligently following up on the lawsuits that were started with the 2023 grand list. We most recently had a wonderful result with a property here in Norwalk that we had valued at nearly $8.7 million, and the owner brought forth of appraisal at $4.2 million. And based upon the diligent work of the law department, especially Matthew Sapienza, corporate counsel, we held their feet to the fire and ultimately got a complete withdrawal of the lawsuit. So a no loss on the property whatsoever, no negotiations, no stipulated judgments. And we keep hoping for more results like that, or other cases have settled, but we do try our best to make sure that they settle as much in favor of the city as we possibly can. So, and right now we're also in the throes of the BAA appeal application hearing period. That runs from February 1st to February 20th. For anybody that wishes to challenge their appraised and assessed value through the Board of Assessment Appeals. If they get their application in by February 20th, the hearings will be held in March, and the homeowners or commercial property owners will have the opportunity at that time to present evidence to prove their opinion of why they think that the city has their property overvalued. We've had the last couple of days, I've been going through all the applications, as I like to make sure that everybody's got a fighting chance if they go forward. And I've identified quite a few people who have been applying simply because they wanted to appeal the fact of their most recent phase-in adjustment, which is not an appealable action. The phase-in is still only a portion of the value of the property, and you cannot challenge whether or not that phase-in amount will be added. You would only be allowed to appeal the total value of the property. So that's been the major things going on along with the fact that this is now the application period started on February 1st. It ends on May 15th for the senior and disabled homeowners program. Where people that are at 65 years of age or older or deemed 100% Social Security disabled, if they make under 76,500, which is our current high threshold, they can apply to potentially receive credits off of their tax bill through the city. And like I said, that application timeline runs through May 15th. And if needed, because if they're going to file extensions for their tax returns, they can, through OPM in Hartford, apply for an extension of the period of time to apply for their benefits. So outside of that, I would open the floor up to if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of questions.
Do you want me to, I can pull up the slide to talk about the grand list if you want to.
This one?
If you want to go through, yeah, you want to go through that?
Yeah, let's go through that.
Okay. Simon, could you pull up that same presentation, the budget presentation? I think it's slide 11.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
So Paul, can you see the slide you got up there now?
Yes.
Okay, so I had a couple of questions on this. I think first off is it's good to see that we're up $1 billion. That certainly helps somewhat. But on the real estate, I had a couple of questions on the real estate side of it. You know, first off is well, let's just talk about residential to begin. First off is that this is based on the adjusted reval. Are there any entities out there, any other consultants or anything like that come in and periodically test any of the assessments that we've got in there to see whether they're accurate? Sometimes I always, you know, inevitably everybody thinks their house, until they're ready to sell it, they always think it's not worth that much. And the assessments come in higher. How do we, you know, and it seemed like when we first got the reval, which is probably to be expected, that everybody was very up in arms about the valuations. Do we have somebody else that comes in periodically to do an audit of any of those, particularly maybe new construction that might be coming along?
No, I mean, when something gets built brand new, like let's just say that you knocked down your house and built a brand new house, when we value your house out, it's based upon the information that we plug into our mass appraisal system, Vision, which would be the square footage of the house, the room count, all the other amenities, and the quality of the construction. And all that has an algorithm in the background that utilizes all the sales data from the reval to build a value. To have somebody come in and to review that would be, I mean, that's what we hired the reval company to do. If people feel as though that their assessments are wrong, the burden is upon them to prove the value's wrong. By either having an appraiser do an appraisal of their property, or having a real estate agent doing a certified market analysis of their property. I mean, if somebody were to call me up and point out that, hey, you're saying my house is worth $1 million, I think it's only worth $700,000, and here's why, and they point out some factual errors on the field card, we address those as they come along. But no, we don't have anybody wholesale double checking Vision. That was pretty much done during the time of the reval when all the reports were ran to make sure that there were no severe outliers.
So if somebody came in that case, we valued the property at $1 million, and they come in and say it's really only worth 700, and there's a decision that it could be worth 800. Could you change that to 800, or would that have to go to somebody else to verify that?
Well, it all depends on if we are pre or post signing. If somebody came to me on January 15th and pointed out some flaws, I could change it. On February 1st, when the grand list has already been signed, even if I 100% agree with everything that they tell me, I can't change the numbers that would impact the 2025 grand list. They would have to go to the Board of Assessment Appeals for a hearing and point it out. If the board were to so ask me my opinion, I would then tell them, yes, they told me about these things, and I do agree that there are errors on their field card that need to be corrected.
Okay. Another question I have, and anybody else has jumped in to be honest. Another one that I had before
I have a comment on Jim, your question there and the answer. And so the errors that we're going to catch in the Vision process is if we overestimate and they're challenged. If we ever underestimate, especially commercial, those are never going to be challenged because the property owner will be excited. And so I guess that's the only potential risk is if we're underestimating commercial properties, is any way to sort of check that Is that what you were getting at, Jim?
Yes, it is.
So, so Paul, just, I guess the overall question is there any sort of, processes we have guarding against undervaluing commercial property, especially given the sensitivity we have right now with the balance being pushed to residential since COVID and the fact that we're under a lot of budgetary constraints?
I mean, it's the same safeguards that it is for the residential. I mean, everything is reviewed by multiple people, myself, other people on my staff, outside consultants, and both reval companies, because we had both Vision and John Valente's offshoot company from Tyler Technologies working on our commercial reval. So it gets looked at from multiple angles. I mean, can there be places where we might have been lower than we could have been? Yeah, that could happen. It could also happen on a residential property. I mean, when it comes to the commercial properties, there's no 100% guaranteed that we're right and they're wrong, or they're right and we're wrong, because there's so many factors that go into it. I mean, things right off the top of my head, we have to make adjustments for vacancy rates, expenses, and all the other things that go into valuing an income producing property. And so, yeah, it could happen, but no, we don't hire somebody to double check the reval 2.5 years after the reval was already set.
And that makes sense. And I'm just wondering, in terms of your sort of review process, do you prioritize like the top biggest commercial properties that, if you get those wrong, that's going to sort of move the needle? Or is it, what's that review process? Is it prioritized by the size of the,
For me, it's all the properties. We run them all to see, based on type of property that they are. Like, we ran the apartment buildings by themselves and made sure that the size of the apartment building and the value that was placed on each apartment seemed appropriate, especially based upon income and expense data that they provide to us, and also that we draw from the marketplace. Then you jump to the office space, and that was the more challenging of it, because that was the part of the reval where things took a really big hit. I mean, and they're still taking a big hit. We did our best with what we had available at the time, but I mean, it was a very, very challenging time for office space.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had another, okay.
I just have one other question. As I think of the complexities of this, does AI ever get used in any way in this reval process? Or has it changed anything in terms of the process?
It is beginning to get used, but at the time of our reval, there were very few companies out there relying on it. There are now companies out there that are almost entirely AI driven, but they are far more expensive. And like I said, they're new, and there'll probably be one or two of them that may apply during the RFP process for the 2028 reval, where we may have a company that utilizes a lot of AI. We're actually utilizing AI a little bit on our new field cards that are online, because they utilize AI to populate sales data on the Data Scout website, so that you can see trending in your neighborhood or in any neighborhood with the data that they draw from the internet. So it's a growing field, but at the time of our last reval, it was not a huge tool being used by anyone.
Thanks.
Say so.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, it's Jared. kind of following up on Mr. Bailey's line of questioning, and I think that there's no, well, not the same thing. Could you talk about the personal property audits and the work that MTS is doing on the license plate on the motor vehicle registration?
Sure. So the personal property audits that, like we discussed a little bit last month, those are audits where we do between 30 and sometimes as a couple of years ago, we did as many as 60 audits of businesses that operate within the city of Norwalk to make sure that they're complying and filling out their personal property declarations accurately for all the equipment that they utilize within the city of Norwalk to run their businesses. Because as state statute says, they need anything that's utilized to run a business is declarable. That would be your furniture, your fixtures, your computers, your EDP equipment. If you're a restaurant, it would be all your cooking apparatuses. So we audit a certain number of accounts every year to make sure that they are filing properly and giving us a fair and accurate accounting of all the materials that they have on hand, and that they are assigning an appropriate value, because it's supposed to be purchase value. So that, and Jared, I'm sorry.
MTS and the
the MTS. Okay. So MTS, which is Municipal Tax Services, they are in the midst of the coming up almost on their 1-year anniversary of starting to identify in the city vehicles that are registered elsewhere, but that are found to be in and around Norwalk on a frequent occasions. And so last summer, we sent out 3 sets of bills that were from them just data mining our past grand list data for gaps in registration where people may have let a registration lapse and DMV didn't pick up on it. And so therefore they got away with not paying taxes for a year or two. And we sent out, I think it was, if I remember off the top of my head correctly, $138,000 worth of bills just from the data mining. Soon, I hope we will have our next set of bills, which comes from MTS surveying the city over a 4-month period for finding motor vehicles and then researching those motor vehicles as to should they be taxed in Norwalk or not. And this will address lapsed registrations, cars without plates on them, and out-of-state vehicles, because MTS has access to several out-of-state DMVs that they can go in and check and see. I'm not going to share names or anything, but there was a person who had a couple of Vermont vehicles, and they were able to look up in Vermont, and in Vermont, they listed Norwalk as their home address, but they registered their cars to Vermont, but the cars are always here. They were spotted at least a half a dozen times. So over the course of the next few months, we should be getting another batch of bills to send out from MTS, which should far exceed the number that I just mentioned before, because this is going to be not just finding gaps, it's going to be finding all the people that are trying to beat the system.
Okay. Do you have a question? Nope. I had another question on abatements. We hear a lot about abatements and how they're starting to run off, and we always have this dream that all the abatements are going to disappear overnight. We're going to have, $40 billion added to the grand list. Do we have an analysis of how the abatements are going to run off and the value that we can look forward to and I think, is it 750 million this year that we got from real estate abatements? Is that a good number?
No, the 750 million, that's the phase in.
Okay, all right.
So we have
so
one
do we
more
have,
of
let's
that.
go back to my other question was really the runoff of the abatements. Do we know when those how much we can realize or how much we will realize as those abatements run out?
We know we can accurately predict the assessed value changes. We can't accurately predict what the tax revenue will be in the future, because obviously without knowing what the mill rates are going to be.
Right.
But yes,
right.
there
No,
is
what I
a
meant was the
We're
value.
today to project out.
Right. How much can we look forward to? If value is
Assuming
changed.
today's taxes.
Yeah.
off the top of my head, I would have to do it on
No,
a.
I'm not asking for the number. I'm saying, do you have an analysis that tells us what that is? Do you have an analysis that shows all the buildings that are under abatement right now, what their value is, what their value is going to be when that abatement rolls off?
Yes, we have that. We have that list.
Okay.
And we'll put something together over the next month and bring it to you, bring it to the committee.
So as that rolls
in March.
off now, okay,
Mhm.
we have to adjust that incremental valuation according to the phase-in for the reval, right? Because we don't recognize if the abatement was at 50% and now it's finished, so it's now at 100%, we can't just take that valuation into the grand list because it's got to be phased in under the reval. Is that correct?
Well, that correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but though that component of it, for an enterprise zone property, for example, if they're on track, like most of them are, to increase their assessment value by 10% a year,
Yeah.
if that's the track that they're on, then it'll go up by 10. Those will go up by 10% a year. Those values would not be affected by the phase-in.
Okay.
Yeah, so the phase in and the roll off are independent of each other.
Yes. Yeah.
So what happens if we have a building that was constructed after the reval? That would not be impacted by the valuation, the phase in of the revaluation.
I think a building constructed after the reval would not be, at least right as of right now, would still be at 100% abatement. Correct, Paul? Those first 2 years?
Yes. But that new building would be affected by the phase-in because construction changes have to be phased in just like the market-based value change.
But the building's complete. The building's complete by the time, after the reval. It's now, let's say it doesn't increase or decrease the valuation, just for argument's sake. That is going to be, and let's say it's a 2-year, 100% abatement. Then in year 3, we should be recognizing the full value of that building. Is that correct?
No, because year 3 is a 50% abatement. Year 4 is 40%.
Yeah, okay, I'm just saying if it's 100%, but the valuation would not be affected by the phasing.
Well, I mean, in the simplest terms, yes, it would, because even if it was finished after the reval, new construction or renovations, anything that gets added value to the property, we have to phase in. I call it phasing in the phase in, because that's a state law.
There's a law that says you have to, but that doesn't make any sense.
There's a.
The revaluation was for the revaluation. My thinking is the revaluation is for a building that's complete. Okay, and it's now worth $100 million. And revaluation comes through and says now it's worth $110 million. The next day, if I have another complete building, that's not impacted by the revaluation because you're valuing it now at a whole. It's a brand new building.
But
Why
that's
would you
not
want to phase anything in?
That's not how the state statute's written. The state statute is written that construction changes that happen in between the reval.
There's no construction. There's no new construction. It's a completed building.
Right, but when it gets completed after October 1st of 23, whether it be October 2nd or April 4th of 2024, any changes that, because those are construction changes, unless it was finished prior to October 1 of 23. If it was finished prior to October 1 of 23, it would get impacted by the phase in just like any other completed building. But anything that's completed from October 2nd of 2023 through September 30th of 2028, anything that changes in that time period will have a phase in assigned to the value change due to the construction.
Could you give me the statute on that? Could you?
Yeah, I could email it to you. I'd
Yeah.
have to look it up again.
Is that, yeah, I don't, I'm not gonna use it tonight, but it just doesn't make any sense to me because the revaluation is to adjust the valuation of a property, real estate value, based on what the current market dictates.
Right. But
If we build a building after the revaluation takes place, you're valuing it post revaluation. And that should be what it's worth. If you went out to look at comps, you're going to look at the comps that have been revalued just the previous day.
No. Everything that happens in my office that has to do with anything new coming on gets, whether it doesn't matter if it's October 2nd of 2023 or if it's September 30th of 2028. Everything gets valued back to the reval date. So it's September 15th of 2028, and those two merit buildings, Merits 1 and 2, get completed. When we value them, they're going to be valued as complete, but what they would have been worth on October 1 of 2023 in the condition that they're in 2028. And that's why you have to phase in those changes, because everything is tied to the reval date. Nothing in my office is about present time, other than that one moment in time when we are present, which is October 1st of the reval year.
We take the reval, at the revaluation, we say, okay, we've got this completed building as of, what was the date? October 1st, 23?
Yep.
Okay, so October 1st, 2023, we've got an existing building, and it, up until the day before, it was worth $40 million, okay? The revaluation takes place, they go and they do their comps, or if it's a commercial building, they do their income analysis and all that, and they say now it's worth $60 million. And we say, okay, that's fine, but when we do our taxes, we can't afford to take that big a hit. We can't take that big a hit right now because it's going to blow our taxes out of the water, because everybody's going to be taxed at this extremely higher level. So what happens though is that if I have another building that I build the next day, that's going to be the same price, okay, with all the other ones that have just been revalued. So now they're both at the same, but one is brand new. It hasn't been revalued. It's cost, it's materials, it's rentals, all of that stuff is all brand new. It's all fresh. Why would you say it's not going to be? Why would you have to spread that out?
Just to clarify, I think in your first example, we're not taking a hit. That $40 million is still on the grand list. It's the incremental amount. That 20 million is what gets phased in.
Okay, you're right. But I think the whole thing should be recognized first. If it was built after October 1st, 23, then it's valued according to the same buildings that have been upgraded or upvalued as part of the revaluation.
No.
You're looking at comps.
I'm not saying I disagree with you, Jim, because I'm not a huge fan of this portion of the phase-in law, but it is what the law is, and like I said, I will email it to you.
Let's take a look at it, because it just, it doesn't seem logical to me.
Well, it is a state statute.
It doesn't necessarily lie. Good point. Well, Josh says it, he's a lawyer, so
lawyers write bad laws all the time, and I don't know enough about this law to weigh in substantively about it, but
okay. So
I will say, I don't know if there's, and I'm taking advantage here at this moment, just to ask when the public will get access to the grand list, when it'll be ready for the public to view, and all that sort of just public PSA on the process of the grand list, and when the public may get a chance to look at it if they so choose.
Yeah, so we can, I mean, what you have on here is a very high level overview of it. I know Paul has abstracts that go into some more detail about, peels back the onion a little bit more and goes into more details about the exemptions, the level of exemptions, and those kinds of details, and breaks down the different categories of property, whether it's open space or if it's a utility, or so we can provide that kind of information to you.
Great. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Sorry to interrupt. Miss Edie has her hand raised on Zoom. You guys can't see it.
Okay. Go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Paul. Thank you for your report.
My pleasure.
Good. Just had a couple of questions about the senior program.
Sure.
Is the income, I know you said Social Security, can that 76,000 be any type of income under 76,500, I believe you said?
Well, the limit is 76,500, and what we utilize is people have to turn in their tax returns.
Okay.
And so it is your total income. It's not total income after deductions and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's the front page, and it includes your total Social Security. So if you get $40,000 of Social Security, but only 20,000 of it is taxable, that other 20 has to be added to your total income for purposes of the program, and that's again by the state law. Of how to calculate income. So it's your total income that gets utilized for determining if you're eligible for the program or not.
Okay, nope, that's fine. And when you say credits, do you mean money taken off your bill?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So on the state or on the town homeowners program, we have two levels. Up to 62,500 gets. Anything below that will get a $1,500 credit off of their taxes. And if you're between 62.5 and 76.5, there's a $900 credit applied. The state level, the levels are much lower and the amount of money is lower. The state maxed out last year at 53 and change, but you had to be below $20,000 a year to get a high benefit from them, which their high benefit is $1,250.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is not paid for by the state. It is paid for by the cities now. It's been that way for nearly a decade, that the state no longer reimburses for the homeowners programs.
Okay. And is there, it started, you say February 1st. What are the dates that you can apply? And is it a limited amount, like first come, first serve, or is it only
It's February 1st to May 15th. Or if you have extensions, but anybody that applies and qualifies gets it. Yeah, I've never been told of a limited pool of resources. So no, it's anybody that applies.
Okay, great. Do we have a flyer or any type of informational brochure or something that we can share with?
We typically send one out in July with the bills. So that gives people plenty of time to put it on their to-do list. And we send out packets of information to all the people who are due to renew, anyone that calls and asks for information, and it's posted on my website. But I could get you, I believe we probably still have the trifold information that was sent out in the last set of bills. I could get that emailed over to you.
Okay, that'd be great, because right now is the time that they need to be doing this, and it will count
Right.
for the 2025 tax year.
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Gorman?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul. This has been really informative. And
My pleasure. I will talk to you guys again next month.
I think you've done a great job.
Thank
in
you.
the last year, and you've really picked up the pace. So thanks very much.
My pleasure. And I just would like to do a thank you to my entire team that made this all possible.
Great. Thanks.
Have a great night.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Oh.
The final item is just a discussion on the on moving the operating budget and cap review to the Common Council, which would be for the council meeting on the 24th. Anybody want to move that item?
Move it.
Okay. Bailey got that. Bailey got it. Bailey got it. Any questions on this? I think basically what we're doing here is that it's not that we have to approve the budget, but we are going to move it to the council for further review and setting of the cap. Although I think that it would be within our prerogative to recommend, along with that submission, whether we agree with what's out there right now as far as what the CFO has put forward. So let me just open it up for anybody have any questions that they want to bring up on this item. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Jared, a quick question on the city size 10.7 increase. Is that a sort of one-time adjustment, or is that, do you think is that going to be a new base?
It will be, if I understand your question correctly, that'll be the new baseline.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that would become the base for the budget going forward. In other words, yeah, that 10.7% onto it. The following budget, if it's a 3% increase, it would be on top of that. So for the 28 budget, it would set a new base for it.
Okay.
Are you, I guess the other point I have is, 7% overall. How do we all feel about that? Is that a number that we think, we've looked at the details, we've looked at and I keep saying revenue, I mean, the tax base and how we can spread this thing. The only real opportunities I see is that if for some reason we found more money that we could add to the grand list, that's going to soften the tax burden that we're going to get. We also talked about looking at the line by line, and hopefully most of us have had an opportunity to look at least online the budget package where we can look at the individual departments line by line. Even if we see some really significant items, it's not going to change these percentages much. Okay. So I'm interested in getting some input from members of the committee as to whether we should move this forward to and I don't think I've ever seen it like this before, but move it to and suggest a cap that might be different than what we have on there now, which would be the 7.4%.
So is there a question to Jared in there, or you're just opening up the comments?
I'm opening up for comments.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had a chance to take a look at it.
Yeah, I guess, the way, just to try to get more familiar with the process is the role of the BET is to go through line by line item with each department and then recommend higher or lower. And they haven't done that yet, have they?
No, they're not gonna do that until after we set the cap.
They can only go lower. They
can only-
they
they
can't
can
go
only go
higher.
lower.
Wherever the cap that you set is binding on them.
Yeah.
And the vote we have in the cap coming up in 2 weeks, that's the initial cap level. That's not the final one. We do that later in the spring.
No, what'll happen is that we'll set that cap. If they come back with a lower number, we could take that lower number.
Okay.
We would take the lower numbers.
Yeah, I mean, just, on a personal level, it just seems like there's a lot of moving parts, just personally for me to, wrap my head around within a month process to set a binding cap. And, obviously the public comments that we have heard have been really overwhelmingly, focused on the B of E. And so, I think, as elected officials by our constituents, again, they're louder than any other constituents. We have people speaking about the parks today, and other, in the board, in the economic development, but the overwhelming comments around the Board of Ed. And so within that context, I was just thinking, if we're going to reduce them from 6 to 4%, which is roughly 6 million, we know that the superintendent is likely going to have a list of people they're going to fire because of that 6 million.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, do we have, if we were also going to lose 6 million in the city budget, would we have a list of people that we would let go in terms of understanding the pain? If basically we put 6 million back in their budget, has to come out of our budget. What's that pain? Who are those people that are going to lose their jobs? Just to sort of have more information about the challenges.
Well, but the budget that was the 7% that we're talking about takes that 6 million out.
Yeah, but I'm saying we put that 6 million.
Yes.
Yeah, if we put that 6 million back in and just reallocate from the city, what's the pain from the city perspective? We prioritize what that pain is.
So in other words, take the 6 million out of the city rather than.
Yeah, and again, it's more of it's a process to say, we understand what the teachers are going to lose. I mean, the art teachers, the music teachers, we know, and that's very visceral for the parents and the students. Likely there's going to be pain from the city side, from the other side of the budget, that we should sort of articulate what that is to, balance those choices. Again, it's not black and white, but it should be.
So, yeah. So let me, I think that's a good segue to what I was going to ask Jared. So let's say we take what Brian, Councilmember Bailey just said. What would be the impact on, let's say, the median tax bill if we fully fund the 6.5? And there's like a quick follow-up. Assuming we did that, is there a way to tell at this point? Is it too early? Is it too premature to see what the impact would be on the city side? What the sacrifice would be on the city side?
Yeah, as I was going to go there too.
Yeah.
What if we just funded the 6 million? What's the tax increase?
Right.
Again,
Right.
So so going from 4 to fully funding them at 6.5%, I can go through, as you know, in each of the taxing districts, it would be different. But I can give you a sense. If we look at the district with the lowest bill right now, without the 6.5% in it, the increase for the median household in that district goes up by 12.7%. Or $990. Now, if you add in the additional 2.5%, go to 6.5% for the schools, no adjustment on the city side, then that bill goes from $990 up to $1,132 or 14.5%. So that's the low end. On the high end in District 6, so the proposal before you right now is an increase of $2,632, or again 12.7%, as it turns out. That's just coincidence. If you go to 6.5% on the Board of Education, that $2,632 goes up to $3,031. To the second part of the question, if the city had to absorb, because it sounds like what you're aiming for is sort of a budget neutral type of solution where you would fund the additional $6 million to the Board of Education, take it out of the city side. I can't say exactly what we would do, but I can tell you what the options would be. One would be that we reduce the amount. Probably the most obvious one is to go where the biggest increase is, and the biggest increase is in healthcare and employee healthcare, and bringing those appropriations up to date. And so we could reduce those. We could reduce that increase. So what were the consequences of that? The biggest consequence is that, when we go before the rating agencies, again, it would be something that would ultimately affect our fund balance, because to the extent that we don't have the funding in the internal service fund to properly pay for that, then it would automatically come out of the fund balance. And so that's that in addition to the 8 million that we're already budgeting to take out of fund balance.
And so
I'm sorry, 7. Thank you. Yeah.
Just to play that back, so I understand what you're saying. And so we wouldn't fund that increase. And so we just we wouldn't fund what we know that we would have to pay. And once we have to pay it, we have to take it from the operating budget someplace. And the rating agencies know that that's not there. That's not there. And it's not good sort of budgeting, so to speak. So we cannot,
Would we have to put it into contingency in that case? We on the budget, would we take it out of the fund and put it in contingency?
No, because that would keep it in if we put it in contingency, that would just keep it in it's just moving it from one pot to the next. And the other issue with underfunding that whether it's healthcare or any of the appropriations that go into the internal service fund, is that let's say we're adding $11 million in healthcare, and if we underfund that by whatever the amount is, let's say we underfund it by $2 million, we've got to make that up next year. So it's 11 plus the 2 plus whatever increase we experience in healthcare in the following year. So, and that's the issue we're dealing with now, and that's why it's such a heavy lift for us.
And I understand that's sort of how do we finance paying for current obligations for employees, but obviously the BOE doesn't do that analysis. It should say we're getting rid of employees. Have we thought about what?
Well, no, they do.
Yeah,
they do that. I mean, the conversation that John and I had with Linda was that he admitted that staff, I can't remember how I say this, that, one of the places that they would have to go would possibly be staff, but he acknowledges that they don't want to touch any student-facing staff.
Which is great. I'm just wondering if we've done the analysis where let's not do sort of fiscal sleight of hand, so to speak, to do this, but what if we had to get rid of people because we can't afford them because we're prioritizing other education? I mean, again, and I'm bringing this up just to sort of that's what our constituents are asking us to do. And so
Yeah.
it's, we need to have, have we done the analysis saying we're gonna, close parks or something? Or because we just don't have the employees to have them there, to make it more real. So I think ultimately that this is where this debate's going to go in terms of tough choices.
Right, and I think to your point, you close parks, so what does that mean? Closing parks means that we're probably laying people off.
Yeah, no,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, we're
That-
talking layoffs.
That's the effect, the effect of it. And that's where the savings would come. Obviously there's nothing, we can't really do anything to reduce salaries or to reduce benefits without bargaining. And so that would be the place to go if you're looking for a significant amount. If you're talking about shifting $6 million, it would have to hit employees.
Because our hands are tied on the contracts that we just negotiated.
Yeah, so we just negotiated 6 contracts. They
Right.
also have retroactive adjustments in them already too.
And again,
And the one thing that people say to me all the time is that, well, why don't we just cut some people? Why don't we cut this, why don't we cut that? And so, and my question back to them, so it's, okay, where do you want to cut?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the city budget, and I'm not trying to defend one or the other, but we look at the city budget, I mean, I'm hearing from departments that, they're afraid they're gonna lose people.
Yeah.
I mean, but we hear the same thing from the Board of Ed too. And the Board of Ed did change their pay structure last year they rolled their bottom tranche of 3 stages up into 1. So now that we've got to attract new teachers, they're giving them, a significant increase, significant bump up from the guys that started 3 years ago. But I mean, this is the dilemma we have is that I don't know, we keep saying, look at the lines, and you go down and look at the line, and you go line by line by line, and we're not adding any, we're adding a few heads here and there, but nothing that's gonna move the needle.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of the things we're saying, adopt AI, for teachers, for example, how can teachers utilize AI to do their lesson plans, to do their planning, to do their coaching, all that other stuff. But that's not gonna happen overnight.
It's not, I think any significant operational efficiency is going to take, years to implement. And, I think when we get the updated models and the forecast, that's going to show us that we're going to have double-digit tax increases next year and probably the year after that. And so that's going to really force us to kick off that process in earnest. But in the meantime, we're stuck with double-digit tax increases with reduced services effectively.
No, then that's the concern too, right? It's, at what level of vacancy do you serve with this service quality become jeopardized, right? And that's the challenge. So here's, from what I understand correctly, the options are really just lowering the amount of funding for the internal service fund with respect to healthcare, or affecting something like Parks and Recs. But then, even then, there's a legal sort of implication attached there because of contract
I
negotiations.
don't think it's an either or, right, Joe? I
What's
don't
that?
necessarily think it's an either or in that case. Because with the ISF, we gotta fund that. Because
Right,
it's-
no, that's right.
we're in the hole already. And even with the funding that we're gonna put in there, we're still gonna not be up to where we should be. And so the question we had the other day, you and I might have talked about this as well. Yeah, we talked about this the other day. That what happens if we don't fund that all the way? But then we're just trying to play.
Becomes a problem
catch up
down the
again
road.
next year.
Right.
So, but even with that, we have to go ahead and do that. And it's not either we do that or we close the park. But it's if you want to make up the 6 million, you got to close the park.
Right, no, I was kind of
That's
summarizing,
it.
yeah, I was just summarizing sort of kind of what Jared just mentioned. So Jared, even, I know the ISEP has come up quite a bit. Could you provide like a quick brief on what the ISEP is?
Yeah.
How healthcare is the component that's the most volatile, that's why it requires this level of funding.
Yep, sure. So the internal service fund is it's ultimately a collection of really 6 different components, which is employee healthcare, LAP, which is our liabilities, automobile and property insurance and claims against the city. And then the last piece is property insurance. And so there's those 3 pieces. The city has those 3 pieces, and the Board of Ed has those 3 pieces. There was a time a few years ago when we had a balance in that fund, in the internal service fund. Because the way it gets funded is through, as I mentioned, through these appropriations. The appropriations are tied to, and the reason that we did have a balance in there is because the appropriations are based not necessarily on what we're going to have to spend out of that fund in a single year, but it looks at what's called IBNR, the incurred but not reported. And so we actually fund it, and when we talk about the net position of the fund, it's looking at the IBNR. And so what should be put into that fund every year is make an approximation, an average of what you think you're going to actually spend, but then put in a little bit more to account for the IBNR and to continue to build up that fund and build it back so that there's a balance in it again. And so that's what the plan would be. And I think over those few years when we had the balance, there were a few things that were going on. One is that we're trying to control the phase in and trying to keep that in check as much as possible. Increases in healthcare costs, and then also the fact that we were that the city was made aware that there was this balance and it was higher than it needed to be, and so their process began to start using some of that balance in order to quote unquote subsidize the appropriation, so that the appropriation that we make for those 6 pieces would be lower. And now we're at a point where the balance is not where it has been, and we need to fully fund those.
So just a quick follow-up. So from what I gather, this is just a financial sort of recalibration to funding, right? But it's being used for its intended purposes. So I wonder if essentially some of these external factors, such as what happened during COVID, inflationary factors during COVID, after COVID, pharmaceutical inflation, or even inflation in the for-profit components of the state plan exceeded expectations, essentially.
That's definitely a factor in trying to do the analysis of what what to budget for that. And especially depending on the kind of healthcare plan that you're in at the time, it can definitely be a lot more volatile. So that definitely has an impact on it. And I think the cities had to just make adjustments in the budget in ways that it hasn't had to before, because it wasn't seeing the increases to that extent that we're seeing them now. And then as you don't fund those increases, if you don't fund a 10% increase in one year, then the next year you got that 10% plus whatever the additional, as I talked about before. If you got another 10%, then you're up 20, compound with the compounding effect too.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
I know that doesn't make your job job, man.
It's important to ask.
So one other just question, again, this is a lot of just about process. So in 2 weeks, we just say, we don't go 7%, we just say 6%. And, and then, yeah, and at any point, can we raise it to 7 at a later time or whatever we put?
I believe that we can, I think we did this once before where the council could overrule the BET and come back and or raise, we could come back and raise it at some point in time. I believe that that's, at one time, I think the BET came back and I'd have to get back to you.
If you give me
100%.
Jared,
he's in the check.
I have a question just because of the first time through this. When you ask this resolution about the operating budget cap, are we only talking about the 7%? Are we talking about?
Right now.
Are we talking about the 10% and the 4%?
The 7, because.
So it's just a 7.
Right now, it's gonna, yeah. When the charter came out, the charter said that we were gonna have 2 caps, which is nonsense. So we would have to set a 10 and a 4, but I don't think that doesn't happen until next year.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is nonsense. Right. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay, I just want to clarify how many caps we're talking about here, so.
So basically it would be probably, this 4 would be 6.5. And then whatever the residual would be, so that 9 or something. So they'd be probably, but it would still be 7%.
I mean, I'll say this, as I mentioned to you, from an educational point of view, and I worked in several school districts, 3, in county south of us, a county north of us. And I was a principal for 30 years. If I got a 4% increase in my budget, I would be jumping through the roof with joy. And I don't mean to, I don't know enough detail to criticize their number, but I'm certainly just a little baffled about the numbers that come in.
Well, they're being driven by the same reason why our numbers are healthcare and
same thing
and salaries.
Well, I mentioned to you on the phone.
Yeah.
When Joan and I spoke to Linda, we were asking, here's our pain points, and then we go back, and their pain point was in the same area. They're looking at 15% increase in healthcare costs. And there's not much you can do. I mean, it's all, and really what happened was they were on the state plan that the city is on now. And what happened was they switched over to Cigna. And Cigna then had promised them or indicated that they probably have a significant savings in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 million. And what do you know? They come back and it's costing them about $2 to $3 million more than what they expected.
And they're locked into that for?
I think it's 3 years. It may be, I think it was only 2 years ago that they got into it.
It was fairly
So
recent.
they have another year's.
So there's no, once the BET, you set the cap, the BET makes their recommendation of how much to spend, and then the common council can adjust from there.
Yeah.
And then
Up or down?
It has to be,
BET is.
it
at
can't
the
be,
But then
it can't be more.
Yeah.
It can't be more. So if the BET comes in and you want to make it less, you could make it, the common council could make it less.
That's the way I would call it.
And then the BET would have to adjust
Yeah.
their spending to conform to that new amount. And then once that's done, the next step is to set the levy, set the tax rates, and that. Beyond that, so once that's done, that's the budget. The budget's set. Anything you want to do beyond that would be subject to would be considered a special appropriation.
Yeah.
And there's certain rules about that and process for that.
I think at one time, there was some talk about raising. The BET came in under the cap, and then there was some talk about raising the cap at that point. But it never happened.
So if I understand this right, the idea is to make a recommendation on a cap at this point. Which, if we went with the full amount, the Board of Ed would be what would the 7% go to if we take that full 6.5% for the Board of Ed? Give me a minute.
Well, the 7% would stay the same, but they'd have to somehow or other, you would keep the same numbers that we have here. If you wanted to move that 6 million back.
No, I think what he's saying is move the 7 up. Well, let's fund all the city
Keep
as
the
it
city.
is.
Yeah.
And then make the B of E whole.
Right.
How much does 7 go up?
That's my question.
Yeah, it is. I think it's 8. Okay.
Yeah, you just,
Where's that?
that goes back to the conversation we had, the 6 million.
Yeah. How much did that go up?
That will make, the taxes in 08 go up, 3,000 instead of.
No,
300.
it'll go up by 300.
Not 300, 3,000.
No, that's what
The-
Chair just
they
said.
go up 20, 2,600, right?
Yes, from 2632 to approximately 3031.
Yeah, so it's going
For District District 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 300
I said up to.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not real comfortable with it, but I'm just saying.
Of course, you don't live there.
Can't afford it. I'm just saying, if we're talking about a cap.
Remember I get the tax for old guys.
Yes, come and be old guy.
Being the oldest guy doesn't help.
Jim, do you want to ask the rest, if anyone from the rest of the committee has any questions, if you can call maybe Mr. Roberts?
I can answer.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
Sorry,
would go-
Nicole or Roderick, do you guys have any questions on this?
Need any clarification, anything
Is
else?
Juan still on? I don't know if Juan is still on.
Gathering it all in.
What's the magic number, Jared?
8.17.
8.1.
Okay, so 8.1 is the absolute top that we're talking about. I just wanted to get that number.
Yeah, I think, but to raise this now, I think that. That's getting $300 more a month.
Yeah.
Let's assume that's across the board. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, no,
Again,
I'm not trying to say I'm comfortable with it. I just want to know what the maximum would be.
but I think, again, I wouldn't go any lower or any higher than 7% right now. The BET's got to do their work too, and they're going to look at this very carefully. So they may come up with something. I hope to God that that Paul is wrong about the phase.
I just think you can make it work.
If you. Doesn't. Yeah, but in terms of our power as a city council, and again, I'm sorry for just being a newbie here. The only thing we can do to address the constituent concern about the Board of Education is to raise that to 8.1 in 2 weeks, or just keep it at 7 and say, Mayor, it's your problem.
That's what I think our choice is.
Yeah.
I think that's. what it
Yeah,
comes down to.
because we don't have line item authority. But I guess is it Jerry's, the mayor does have the line item authority.
Well, at that point, it would be in the BET's hands.
The BET has line item authority, okay.
But not on the Board of Ed.
Not on the Board of Ed, right? It's just
They-
over that line.
Yeah.
They have control over that.
They
line.
have control.
But
Yeah.
historically, whatever we've given them, they usually come in and they make it work, with the exception of last year.
With the exception of next year.
BOV or the BET?
BOE works with whatever pretty much so, with the exception of last year when we came in and had the
Okay. All right, I guess, if anyone has any more questions, Jim, do you wanna, should we?
Let's do this. I mean, we have to pass this on. I think that maybe we'll have, I'll send an email around and get a vote on it. And, is that okay with you guys?
Fine with that.
Okay, so why don't we table this item and then, we have
I'd
another.
like to just ask one question. What's the downside of making the cap high at this point? What's the downside of doing no greater
First
than
of all,
8%?
First of all, it would make the BET's job a lot harder because they could just sit back and do nothing. Okay. It also, I don't think, sends a very good message saying, yeah, it looks okay, fine, and I think that your constituents are going to be pretty riled up.
Well, my constituents are much more rounded by the BOE than the Board of the constituents we've heard from consistently, they're voicing it for the education and not anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's partially because they don't know, we haven't articulated what the other pain would be. And people are more passionate about schools than they are about other services, rightly or wrongly, until they have them.
And that's what makes the job tough, right? Because you have to, you have families from different socioeconomic backgrounds. There's kids, some of them have kids in school districts, some don't. Some are tax sensitive, some are not, some have different priorities, some wouldn't mind paying more in property taxes, others do mind paying more. in property. So, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And welcome to the challenge.
Yeah.
We're up against the senior citizens and the single income or fixed income families. And then in addition to the other, was it maybe 80,000 residents that don't have any kids in the schools? But the answer to that we got the other day was that, hey, everybody, if you want good schools, everybody's got to chip in and pay for them. So, I guess.
Can we just give them 6 and call it a day?
No, we don't have to call it anything right now. We don't have to do anything, actually. We can, I think what we want to do is maybe do some more homework so that when we meet it with the full council, that they're gonna probably look to us and say, what do you guys say? You guys are closer to this than they are. And so they're gonna ask us for what our advice is.
We can provide that. We will certainly provide that.
Yeah, but we should make sure we're on the same. page.
Absolutely, of course.
We'll start fighting each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
No good choices.
Okay, so I'll take a poll. Well, we'll have a meeting before our before the council. Yes, we're gonna have, before the council meeting, we're gonna meet we'll have a special meeting.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
For the,
that day.
For the, bond.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did everybody here get I think Dwan is the only one that's not here right now, but I spoke with him. Nicole and Broderick, did you get my email about the meeting with?
I did.
Yes.
Okay, can you guys make it on the 24th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not sure yet.
Perfect. So we can, yeah.
Just let me know because if you want to do that, if you're going to vote, we'll need to add that to the agenda. A voting item on the agenda.
What day did you say? I didn't hear the date.
24th.
24th.
Okay.
It'd be before the council meeting. So how long will that take?
It depends on how long you want to talk about.
That was the creating of the bond. That's
Yeah.
The our municipal financial advisor. Whatever he needs, if you guys need 15 minutes, because I think we're planning to meet, let us know if you want to meet an hour and a half before, we could do that.
So let's talk
So
about
you
that.
have
So,
plenty of time.
yeah, right. We'll figure out what the key points are. And so,
But we can customize it a bit, and if you need him to take 45 minutes, we can do that. And still leave time in there for questions.
We'll set it up as a special finance committee meeting,
It'll have to be special, yes, yeah,
and we'll invite the DA too.
yeah, special. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody have anything else that they want to add to this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
That was unanimous motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.